What's going on YouTube? Welcome to Wes's Angling. We've just pulled up to Harry's fishery. It's just gone 2 PM, so we're going to do an afternoon session for you today. So this is where Harry's is on the map. It's in the middle of nowhere, as you can see, right in the middle of a village. I'm just picking a peg. I'm liking the look of the 2 corner pegs, so I need to decide which one I'm going to go on. Quite a few fish rolling down in this corner. But also the wind's blowing over to this corner over here, so they both seem like good pegs. There's quite a few anglers on today. Seems like there's about 8 people fishing, so it's fairly busy, which you'd expect probably at this time of day. But I'm going to be staying right up until evening. I'm going to be fishing the bread bomb for you and method feeder. I've blended up some bread flake at home, so we're going to be putting that on the method feeder, which is a little bit different, and using bread flake on a short hook link. And we'll see if we catch anything. We'll get unpacked in a minute. I've got all the stuff in the car. So, yeah, hopefully catch a few fish for you. Nice afternoon session, and we're doing something a little bit different. Right, so I've decided on this bottom right-hand corner peg. So I'm going to get my stuff out of my car now and get set up. We'll have a walk down and we'll see what's happening. I'll take you through some of the setup and some of the stuff that we'll be using today as well. A little bit overgrown today actually. It's usually kept on top of a bit better than this, but it's a little bit shorter here near the pegs. It's a really nice afternoon, great conditions. It's not as hot as it has been the last week or so. So hopefully that helps us out with the fishing. Look at that, the water's flat calm. There's a breeze towards the opposite end of the lake, like I said. It's pushing right into that corner down there. Look at this. How hard is it to pick your litter up there? Some people are just born idle. It's a bit dodgy, this peg. It's all washed away down one side, but I think we'll manage. It's fairly stable. Just spoke to the owner, he's just been round for money, so I've timed that perfectly. But I'm going to fish I'll probably alternate between fishing down this margin and just out from this tree. Here. So yeah, looking forward to it. Might be a good session today. Some of you ask what feeder chair I use. The make's Capellan. I got it from Decathlon actually. It's a really good price because obviously it comes with the attachments as well as a side table, so it's pretty good value. I'll probably speed up some of this setup process for you so I'm not boring you to death. But if you do have any questions about the gear that I'm using or the setup, please feel free to comment down below. It's really important that you get yourself comfortable and set up right when you method feeder fishing. You'll definitely enjoy it a lot more if you've got everything to hand that you're going to need. So take the time, take the extra couple of minutes and make sure that you've got everything around you that you're going to need for the full session. So I've got my box of hook links out that I've pre-tied. I'm just putting my rod rest on and making sure my feeder arm's tight and in the right position. And as always, before you start fishing, make sure you've got your net set up as well. Should be the first thing that you always set up and the last thing that you put away, just in case you do get that one last fish. Right, so we're going to be using something a little bit different on the method feeder today. We're going to be using bread as ground bait, which I've blended up at home, obviously, before I've come. And I've just sealed it up back in the bag just to keep it moist. Really simple and easy to do. Literally just put it in the blender and whiz it up into a fine crumb like this. I'll put a clip in now so you can see me doing that. Just got 6 or 7 slices of bread there in the Ninja. Just whiz it up. You can leave it fairly chunky if you want, or you can really grind it down into a fine crumb. It's probably best to leave a few slightly bigger bits. just so it doesn't dissolve as quick in the water. But there you go, that's your ground bait. Really easy, hell of a lot cheaper than normal ground bait as well. But it binds together perfectly on the method feeder when you squeeze it into the mould. I'll seal that back up now in my ground bait tub, just to keep it from drying out too much. What I like to do as well is just put a little bit of water in just to keep it damp. Literally a small amount, don't go mad with this, otherwise it won't bind together properly. So I'm going to stick that next to my feeder chair for now, and we'll get the rest of the bits and bobs that we need for today's session. So we're going to be using a couple of different techniques today. So I've already put in my little tub next to me here a 45 gram method feeder, size small. These are all Preston Innovation method feeders and bombs. So there's a 45 gram bomb. So we're going to take that. It's one without a stem on there, so we'll use that one. Maybe a little small method feeder as well. So I'll just put a couple of things that we're going to need in the mould for it. Using my favourite feeder rods today, which are Shimano Speedmasters. Need to find which one has the 2 ounce tip. I think this is a 2 ounce. It looked quite thick. Yeah, that's a 2 ounce. So we'll start off with a 2 ounce tip, which balances perfectly against the 45 gram method feeders. I'm not going to be fishing far out, so it doesn't really matter too much. I could have used the 1.5 ounce. So these are already pre-set up. I've tied the method feeders on already, and they're just fully made up, and I just have them in the bag. Got a 6,000 reel on, which is a Daiwa reel. I think it's called Crossfire or something like that. Nice little reel, which complements these small rods perfectly. It's got a front drag. There's loads of bubbles coming up just out from me here. That's a good sign. So at the moment, I've just got a banjo feeder on, which I'm going to swap for the method feeder because it's slightly deeper. I think the bread would go on a little bit better. So I'll just slide the top tail rubber off, then I push the stem through the feeder, and then that metal part just drops off. So you can see how they're all interchangeable, these feeders, which is what I like about it. So we're going to stick this 45 gram small method feeder on, make sure it's the right way around, and then I'll really push that in tight. These are elasticated stems. I only recommend you fishing elasticated stems if there's some kind of safety system or if you're fishing heavy enough. There's no chance that a fish is going to break through this 10-pound Daiwa sensor that I'm using today in this lake, so I feel pretty confident in using the elasticated feeders. I'm going to be using 2 different hook links today. So this one's got a size 10 feeder hook on, and I've literally just tied a figure of 8 loop knot in the end. That just hooks over the end of the method feeder stem and secures in place. Nice sharp narrow gauge feeder hook there, ready for the bread. Right, so we're all set up there. I'm just going to see how the rod sits on the rest. So as you can see, the rod tip's under the water, which is no good. Also, we could do with one of the rod rings being in front of the feeder rest. So I'm going to make some little adjustments on the feeder arm just so it sits a little bit better. I'm going to raise it up a bit, and that should bring our rod tip out the water. There we go. So we'll be able to see all the indications clearly. I'm going to be fishing over towards the reeds on the left-hand side, I think, on the first cast. So we need to have it at a good angle going towards there. So that looks like it'll go off at a good angle and also out towards the tree. So that's perfect. It's in a good position. I'll be able to see all the indications. Now, this is probably too short a hook length for conventional bread bomb fishing, but because I'm combining it with the method feeder, I still want the self-hooking aspect, and I'm sure it'll work pretty well. So I've kept the hook length to about 5 inches. So hopefully it'll still self-hook. Just need to make sure we've got enough of the hook showing out of the bread so that it still catches in the fish's mouth, which I'll show you how to do. There's a way that I hook the bread on which works really well. So I've put some bread in with my crumb mix, and we're just going to squeeze some of that crumb around the feeder, just as you would on a normal method feeder. So squeeze a load on there, and you can see how well that stays around the feeder, and that'll break up nicely in the water. So we've got our hook link there, nice big size 10 narrow gauge hook, and we're going to take a small piece of bread off, probably a little bit big, but we'll deal with it. And then what I want to do is I want to pass the hook through the bread. Let's do it up here so you can see. So pass the hook through the bread, bring it out, pull a little line out, and then hook it a bit further down. Push the point of the hook through, make sure it's clear, and then I just fold the bottom of that bread around the line, and I'll just squeeze it around the line. So the hook point's showing there, and that'll stay on really well as well. So I'm just going to flick this into the margin. So that's perfect, just off that end reed that's sticking out a little bit. And now I'm just going to adjust that arm a little bit. Rod's on the rest. I'm just going to tweak it round so we've got a nice gentle bend in the tip. Drop it down a touch so we're closer to the water's surface. That'll just help the line go to the feeder at a better angle, in my opinion. I'll give you a little bit of a closer look at the rod tip so you can see what's going on there. So it's really close to the water's surface but not touching. And if you wanted to make micro adjustments on the rod tip to tighten it up, all you can do is, if you want to, you can just turn the spool rather than turning the handle, and that'll just give you more delicate adjustments on the tip to tighten to the feeder. Look at this fish here, folks, swimming left under the rod tip. Look at it, it's coming past now. Look at that. Awesome. Right, so that's been in about 5-10 minutes now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reel it in because the bread's probably gone. So we'll bring that in and we will rebait and get it back out onto the same spot. Well, the bread's still on, which is a good sign. Shows the technique's okay. So we're just going to we'll get some of this bread that's left over off the feeder, and we'll rebait. I'll go for it with you again. Definitely sticks to the feeder just as good as ground bait, this. I'm actually really impressed with how well it's working. So it just works perfectly with the molds. Get a nice neat package. I'm going to try a smaller piece of bread this time, I think. And see if that works any better. Now, you could use this technique fishing for pretty much everything. You just need to adjust the size of your piece of bread and hook. But this will work great for roach and bream. There's not many smaller fish in this lake. It tends to be carp and barbel. There might be the odd bream in, but there really aren't many. So I'm just going to get that out, back out to the same spot down this margin. So that's perfect. And then tighten up, sinking the line. Back on the rest. And just tweak that rod tip round gently, but don't move the feeder. So that's perfectly set up. Well, I haven't had anything down that left hand margin, so I've just cast over to the tree. Oh, there we go. Yep. We're in. First fish. Doesn't feel a big one, but fish is a fish at this stage. So we've probably been fishing for about 15 minutes now. Just swapped sides. And I was getting indications on the tip straight away. These small carp are really great to catch on this light tackle. Let's get it netted. They really do fight hard here at Harry's. for the size of the fish. The small ones seem to fight harder than the bigger ones. Just let some line out there so we can net it. That's the only trouble with these shorter rods. When it comes to playing a fish close in, it can be a little bit tricky when it comes to the netting. But the really soft rods, these, they take all the lunges perfectly. Here it comes. Is it going in the net? Yeah, we're in. Awesome, first fish. Hopefully a few more after this one. So I'm just slacking my drag off there. I'm just taking some line off to give me a bit to work with here. I'll show it you. Little common. Hooked perfectly in the side of the lip there. It's actually gone through its lip. There we go. So it just shows you that the shorter hook length there worked great in terms of self-hooking, and that was just with bread on. I'll probably try a pink banded wafter as well with this bread feed later on. I bet it'll contrast well. That'll be a good technique. I've tied a few method feeder hook links up so we can do that. There we go, first one back. Right, let's get a piece of bread on and try this margin again. Give that other swim a rest since we had that fish. So same technique, just making sure the hook point's showing there. Just squeezing it around the bottom of the line, in line with the hook. I'm just going to flatten near the hook point slightly there as well. Wouldn't do that if it was surface fishing, because obviously it'd make the bread sink, but it doesn't matter in this scenario. So let's pop that back down. It'll give a chance to fish to move in on that bread feed as well that's come off the feeder before, so I bet this will be a pretty quick bite. I've no doubt in my mind they'll be fishing that margin. So let's put that up there in the grips rod butt, so it doesn't get pulled off the rest. I'm expecting this to go off pretty quick. Guys, I was right. I just turned around to pour myself a brew. And we're into a fish down that margin. It's come up pretty quick actually. Let's get it netted. Looks like a bit of a weird shape. Look at this one. Absolute cracker. It's like a little discus. Almost crucian shaped. But it's definitely not. It's a common. Look at that though. That's the best bit about fishing. You never know what you're going to catch. Look at that. Like a goldfish. How odd. What a lovely fish. We'll get it back. Really fat on top as well. Slimy though. Where's my tea towel? There it is. Right, so we've had a fish down the left-hand side and the right-hand side now. So, I'm going to alternate sides and keep building up each swim. And then we'll just go with the one that's most productive. The self-hooking aspect of this rig's working really well. I didn't know how it was going to turn out, because usually when you're surface fishing and you're using this kind of rig, you actually need to strike into the fish. Obviously to strike through the bread and whatnot, but they seem to be self-hooking fine. So we've just had a fish on the left-hand side near the margin, so we'll go back over to the right now. So it's literally just a little underarm out, this one. I'm not fishing far out at all. Straight out from that tree. So again, I'm just sinking the line and then putting it back on the rest. And then what I want to do is I just want to tweak that rod tip round just to give it a little bit of curve. But we'll still be able to see the indications if we get a bite. Usually when you're fishing this way, the rod tip will just go straight round. Or occasionally you'll get drop back bites. I've turned my GoPro off. I just wanted to save a bit of battery, but I've had this fish on a couple of minutes now, just out from the tree. It keeps running for the snags. It feels a little bit better than the last couple, which is good. So it's really digging this one. It's trying to get as deep as possible. Really putting a bend in this rod. Just holding the bottom. Putting quite a lot of pressure on it. Got my drag right tight up. I'm going to flick the GoPro off and then I'll put you back on when we're near enough netting it. Right folks, it's coming in now. Looks like an F1 to me. Really nice fish. It's got some great markings on it, this one. Like I said, it's a little bit bigger than them last two. I'm hoping we get something pretty decent today. But this is definitely a good few pound. So I don't think he's going to stay. No, he's not going to stay still in the net. So we'll take him over to the landing mat and unhook him. He's proper wolfed this bait down, I think. Might need the disgorger for this one. Oh no, it's come out. That's good. Just drop out sometimes with them being barbless hooks. It's got speckles all the way along its back, this one. I'll try and I'll get the other camera out and I'll give you a close look at it because it is quite nice. Very pretty fish, this one. Got some really interesting speckles along its back. So a couple of ways you can tell this is an F1 and not a common carp is it's no barbules and it's got this lateral line of dots all the way down its side. But look at those little black markings on its back. Really interesting. I've never seen an F1 like that before. So it's a few pound that. Let's get it back. Got it out long enough. Awesome. Let's get another. Now that we've baited up a swim, what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap the method feeder for this bomb. Now, I don't really like the way these bombs sit up in the water, and I've never actually caught on one. But hopefully we're going to change that. And I do think the hook link just needs to be a little bit longer if you're using the bomb. So I just think it gives you a little bit of a better presentation, and it's not as obvious for the fish. But we'll try it with a short hook link, and you've got to try new things when you're fishing. You've got to test out theories, or at least I'm going to do that for you. All I want from these videos, guys, is to help you put more fish in the net. That's literally it. I'm not sponsored. I'm not affiliated with anybody. So you know that you're getting honest opinion. I'm going to try and make the fishing as cheap as possible so it appeals to everybody. You don't have to have expensive gear to go fishing. Always remember that. So I've just flicked that bomb out with that bread on. I'm just going to tighten up to the bomb. So I've just cast it over that baited spot where we've been casting the method feeder. So there should be some bread flake on the bottom. If you are picking up a couple of tips from this video, guys, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. It means a lot to me. I'm trying to get a video out every single week for you, so there'll be more stuff to come. Well, my dad's just rocked up. I don't think he's fishing today. He doesn't live far from here, so he's just popped down to the fishery to see how I'm getting on. Well, I have had absolutely nothing on the bomb, so let's get back on the method feeder because that technique was working. Not sure why they wouldn't take the bread off the bomb. Maybe it's because there's no loose offerings going in at the same time, who knows. But there you go. So we'll get this method feeder back out because that technique's working, so we might as well stick with it. We'll get a few more fish in the net. Try back down this margin. Last bite I had down this margin, it nearly ripped it off the rest. Yeah. Within a few seconds of it being in as well. But that was the smallest fish. They're all over the place though. They're bubbling down here. They're cruising around the top as well. I've not seen many up in the water, but the bubble, see, can you see that there? There's bubbles coming up just off that tree as well. So they're on the bottom as well. I just think the bigger fish are up in the water. The owner said to me when I pulled in, he went, well, you're fishing at the right spot. He said, because it's all shallower here than it is on the other side. I think it's definitely better on the method feeder, whether it's because there's for some free offerings going in as well. But the self-hooking as well. Just trying to make sure that there's some point showing on the hook. No, I just can't put too much pressure on them with these rods. They're not as they're not stiff as those other ones. It takes longer to play fish, but they do take all the lunges, you know, up close like this. God, it's holding bottom, this one. Just fishing a slightly smaller hook than we were when we were surface fishing. I think this is a 10 rather than an 8 of them narrow gauge feeder hooks. It's just literally cruising around the bottom in circles. That's why it's a barbel. Yeah, decent one as well. Lovely fish. Let's have a look at it. Thought it was a weird fight. Oh. Looks like it's snout. Nice barbel. What do you think, Dad? 3.5 pound?
A couple of pound that one. Nice fish though, aren't you?
Yeah, we fight though.
You're hooked on.
Oh, is it hooked on that? Let's have that. Yeah, I definitely think it works better with the method feeder rather than that bomb. It's a bit flatter against the lake bed as well. Yeah. Well, he's not caught out. Well, so what I'm saying is that they sit up in the water like this, these bombs. So you've got your stem on them, so they just sit at an angle up in the water, and I think it's quite off-putting, whereas obviously method feeders will lay flat on the lake bed. So I just think it's a little bit better.
Yeah, you probably need a longer root length.
Well, I'm using a longer up length than I would normally use on a method feeder, but you're right, when people fish the bread bomb, I think it's like 2 foot. I think it's a good, rather than that. Yeah. And I think it sinks through the water slower as well when you're using a longer up length. My personal duck shower. Thanks, Dad. Oh, they come back. They keep coming back. Yeah, you can keep that. I don't want them to dive down and let's try it out this way. A touch of a drop back then, I think. Probably what happens is when I cast in with the bread on the feeder, the top flakes off the feeder will probably come off in the water, and they might draw fish down to the bottom that are higher up in the layers. And then whatever's stuck on the feeder is what they'll feed on, and hopefully they find the bread flake. But like you say, I think if you've not had anything with fishing this method, in 3 or 4 minutes you should probably cast back in, because chances are that your bread's gone. I just wanted to try a different technique rather than wafters. I mean, it's working, it's just not as not quite as effective. Yeah, there's loads coming up here and just under this tree. I might try there next. I just know there's some snags down this way. Yeah. Do you know, branches that are falling off the tree and stuff? Yeah. But I think that this next cast I'm going to go a bit closer to that tree on the other side, if I can get round it. And then I'll put this method feeder uplink on. But I think that'll work well with the bread. Yeah. It'll stand out, won't it? It'll be a good contrast. It's coming up right down at the side there. Yeah. Those ducks are coming back. I think you do well, like you say, I think you do well on floating this peg. Swapping between that margin and to that tree. It's had a bit of a tweak then, I think. I'm going to swap, I'm going to put a method feeder rig on. And a pink wafter. I think they're feeding on the bread.
What, the carp?
Yeah.
On top?
No, no, no. No, there's bubbles coming up.
Oh, sorry, I see where you've cast that.
Yeah. It shows you should always pay attention. Oh no, it's pulled out. Nearly in the tree then. Oh, I'm in the tree. There we go. This one comes off too. I'm changing my uplink. I don't think it's anything special. Slightly bigger than them last ones. Yeah. They're definitely not as big as the fish we catch on the top here though.
Strange, isn't it?
Strange. Well up, right in the corner of the mouth. Look at it. Lift it up if it'll play ball. There we go. 4.5 poundish. Better than them other three anyway. down that margin.
You what?
I've gone back down that margin. You pass me net, Dad? I don't believe it. The feeder's come off.
You joking?
No. Nice fish though. Oh. Yeah. Turn me GoPro off and save battery. See if it'll calm down enough. Yeah. Look at that. Oh, loads of energy. Really nice fish. Definitely worth using a feeder for. I'm going to put him back in a second though because he's eager to get gone. I'm out of small method feeders, so I'm going to have to put a banjo feeder on. I've got my banjo mould ready. It is really annoying because you literally can't replace them because they seem to not be making those anymore onto the new style or whatever. But God knows how that feeder's come off because that tail rubber was on tight. So it's had to pull out completely, and you can see how hard that is. Definitely starting to lose the light a bit. Bit of a twitch then. Probably something pecking at the bread on the feeder. Can't believe I've lost 2 method feeders today. I'm gutted about that. Like £4 a feeder as well. Extortionate. And you can't even replace them, literally. They've brought out a new line now, so be different moulds and everything. It's mad how they get you. Get it on the surface, this one. Like a tarpon. Look at it. Look at it go. It's really annoyed. Let's keep it away from them reeds. Properly cruising around the surface. Well, let's get it. Might be a nice last fish, but I might have another cast as well. There we go. Oh, feisty one. Look at this. Proper swallowed it. Right in the corner of the mouth actually there. I might have to use the disgorger on this. No, I've got it. I'll show it to you. Put it back. Oh, slap me with loads of water. That's what I want. Ah, another little mirror. Well, the GoPro's died and we are losing the light, so I'm afraid that you're going to have to look at my ugly mug. But I'm quite inspired to have another few casts because I was getting quite a lot of indications on the tip then. So we'll put you on the main camera. and we'll see if we can get another couple. Check this hook link. Looks alright. Just using these Sonia baits, washed out wafters. My favourite, these. The pink ones. Only the pink ones. I'm actually really impressed with this bread feeders ground bait. You know, it's really cheap as well. Like, how cheap's a loaf of bread? You can get it for pence, 40 pence. It's a lot cheaper than a bag of ground bait at like 4 or 5 quid, isn't it? So you just blend it up in a blender and it's perfect. It binds around the method feeder so well. It's just how long it stays on the method feeder when it gets down to the bottom. That's the only trouble, but I'm pretty sure it'll stay on quite well. I found that the bread flake works better on the method feeders rather than the banjo feeders, but we've lost both of our method feeders, so we're on the banjo feeders now. But it squeezes nice and tight around the bait. Let's get that back out. So that one was literally just underarmed out, about 10 foot, where that patch of bubbles is. A little bit far, but I'm just going to swing my, because we're fishing at a different angle, I'm just going to swing my feeder arm round. You can't do that, don't worry too much if you're just using bank sticks. But I just like to have a nice angle going from the tip all the way to the feeder. It is so peaceful this evening. Definitely makes a change from doing morning sessions. It's bloody hard work getting up at 5 o'clock, especially when you work 6 days a week. Might even do a Sunday night session for you this week as well, and do a couple of uploads next week. Oh, there we go. Fish on, guys, fish on. They really do bolt off here. Oh, he's heading for that tree, he's heading for the snags. What are snags? Oh no, it's a nice common. Really nice common. Probably just shy of a double. Still take a stand. Look at this guy. What a fish. Try not to knock my camera over. Try and unhook it in the net and then I'll show you. What an epic fish. Let's that. Look at how thick it is. I might even weigh it, you know. Should we weigh it? Let's right, I've just spun you around. Bring it over. Look at this lump. Can't believe it. Oh. What a warrior. Come and have a look at this. Let me show you something. He's got, look at this, he's got another hook lodged in his mouth. It don't look like he's done him any good. Looks all infected and that. So what I'll do is I'll probably put some of my carp curse stuff on him, but somebody wasn't fishing strong enough. Look at that, he's bent the hook out as well. You should always fish strong enough, guys. Look at the mess it's made of that carp's mouth, because it's had the hook in that long. So I'm going to get some stuff and we're going to treat that for it. So this is the stuff that I've got, and it's just for carp, saws. Calm down. So I'm just going to literally put some of that all over its mouth, and that should help it heal and stop infection. That'll do them. That should really help it heal. But I reckon that's a double. I can smell that disinfectant I put on it. Strong stuff. Okay, so it is. I read it just goes into a double. That. Oh, not quite. So minus the net, that's probably 9 3/4. I'm not sure if you can see that on the camera. 9.13 with the net. About 9 3/4 without. But let's show you. So you can see the stuff that I've put on has already started to seal up that wound. But what a gorgeous common. Just shy of a double. Really nice fish. Deep bodied. Let's get it back. It's been through enough. Well chuffed with that. Yes, get in. What a lovely fish to end on. Nah, we're not ending there. More joking. I'll try and get another. Getting loads of indications on the rod tips. Must be fish knocking the feeder feeding on the thread. That's the only thing I can think of. You don't normally get that with a 45-gram feeder, because obviously the weight of the feeder it's hard for the fish to move. So there must be decent sized fish down there pecking at it. You know, obviously when the fish come swimming in, especially if they're coming from the angle of your line, if they're catching the line, then that'll move the rod tip as well. But it's usually more of an aggressive indication on the tip. So a sharp pulls round. These are gentle, which makes me think that they're moving the feeder. I think we'll get one more fish, folks, and we might call it a day. It's quite an odd lake shape, this, in terms of how it is on the bottom. It's like there's a deep hole in the middle, and then it comes up from that, plateaus, drops down, and then this is it's actually deeper around the outsides, which is crazy. Usually obviously shallows up in normal lakes. Give it a couple more minutes and then I'll cast back in. Don't be scared of recasting in summer. If you haven't seen my top 5 method feeder tips in summer, I'll put a link in the top right hand corner for that for you. I'm sure most of you that are watching the channel will have seen that video already. Come on. I don't know what to do. There might be a really small fish on it. No. Wafter's gone though. Very, very odd. I'll have another cast. Should we try a chocolate orange this time? You definitely can't see that on the camera, but it's chocolate orange. Take it from me. It's bright orange. That'll really stand out against the white bread flake. Just do it again. Fish on this time, boys. Catching all sorts. Great. Come out in the net. Okay. There we go. Okay, maybe one more cast. So, orange wafter, if you can pick it up on the camera. Doesn't like it because it's focusing on me. So, that's what I just had that fish on. Usually I fish on them, which are little pink ones, washed out, not bright pink. Don't do very well on these bright pink ringer ones. Definitely catch more fish on the pink washed out. Let's get this one on and we'll see if we can get another fish. And we're in. This one's steaming away. It's not massive, but fish is a fish. I sit here and catch them this size all day long. Yay. Oops, knocked the table over as well. Here we go, little common. What do you think, guys? Do we call it on that fish or do we go for another? I think we need to go for another. Check my elastic because it's taken a bit of beating this session. Looks alright. Hook point isn't the best, but it will do for this last fish. Always check the point of your feeder hooks as well, because sometimes they do turn. Not often, but they do. And it definitely can stop you catching fish. It definitely doesn't help the self-hooking aspect of the method feeder. So I'll just squash some around and a little bit more over the top because that'll break down as I cast in. Last fish. Yep. And he's caught in the line, awesome. That's a fish. Oh. Some side strain on it. Again, I don't think it's massive, but still nice to catch. Definitely do put a bend in the rod, these little carp. Well, the battery died when I was playing that last fish, so I've just changed the battery. We're going to call it a night there, folks. I'm going to get packed up now, get home and get this video edited. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed it, please hit the subscribe button and pop us a like down below. If you have any ideas on what you want me to do in the next video, feel free to comment. I think I'll try and do a Sunday session this week. So after work, I will try and get out for a few hours. It's going dark at about 8:30 now, so I won't have much time by the time I've got to a fishery and got set up. But it'll still be a couple of hours and I'll be able to do a couple of uploads next week because of that. So I hope you enjoyed it and I'll see you on the next video.